So in this video we're going to go over some points about while loops. So what we're going to do is start with a very simple while loop here, and I've added some extra printing. So what we're doing is we're reading a limit from a text box, and we're going to have a sum that we're accumulating that's initially set to 0. We print ready to begin loop before we start, and then we have a do while j is greater than or equal to 0, so we're going to be counting down from the limit to 0, and each time we're going to show the value of j inside the loop, and then when we're done we're going to print done with loop, tell you what the value of j is after the loop finishes, and what the final value of the sum was. Okay, so just to illustrate, let's just run it like this. So we'll go over to Excel, run the macro, and let's say I put 4 in there. So you can see our initial value of j was 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. When we were totally finished with the loop, the value of j was -1, and we accumulated a sum of 10, which is the sum of all the j's that we used inside the loop. Okay, let's go back and look at the code again here. The important thing here, I guess, to focus on is the final value of j. So when you're illustrating, when you're analyzing a loop like this, the first thing you want to think about is what values of j does it run for. You might even want to make a little chart for yourself and write down each value of j, and then any other important values, that such as sum, that are accumulating during the loop. So if I start here with j equal 4, well then, okay, each time I'm decreasing it by 1. So I'll start with 4, the loop will run. Then it'll be 3, the loop will still run, right? 1 less. Next time 2, the loop will still run. Next time 1, next time 0, and the next time, when it's 0, when j is 0, the loop runs. It decreases j to be -1, but at that point the loop will not run anymore because the condition is false, and will come down to here. So the loop runs a total of 5 times with values of j of 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And when we come down here, after the loop is finished, j is -1. And the sum is the sum of all the values that we used, because we started with 0 initially and we just add j each time. So 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0 is 10. Okay, now of course what we're going to do now is play with it a little. So suppose I change the 0 to a 1. Well, okay, let's save that, and if I go over to Excel and run the macro, and I'll put 4 in again, and you can see 4, 3, 2, 1, no 0 this time. Instead we stopped, because our rule now is j greater than or equal to 1, and so it won't run when j equals 0. Okay, the sum is still 10 because we added 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. We didn't add the 0, but that didn't make any difference. Okay, let's come back here. Suppose instead of greater than or equal to 1, I made it greater than 1. And let's save that. Now what you should do is think about what should happen, write it down, and then look at the answer. So you can pause the video after I make a change, figure out what you think should happen, and then start it up again to see what the answer is. So okay, if I come over here, run the macro, I'll put a 4 in, and you can see I stopped. I did 4, the initial value, decreased to 3, decreased to 2, and after 2 the value of j was 1, but the condition says j has to be greater than 1, so we didn't run it when j equals 1. So when we were finished, we did have j equal 1, and the sum was 4 plus 3 plus 2, which is 9. Okay, let's try some more stuff here. Suppose instead of j minus 1, I use j minus 2. All right, now think about that. I'm going to put 4 in. What are the values of j that will be occurring? And when will it stop? And what will the final values of everything be? Okay, let's try it. So I'll put in my 4. Okay, I subtracted 2 each time, remember? So the first time it's 4, then I subtract 2. So the next time it's 2, that still works because 2 is bigger than 1, so it runs. Then inside the loop I subtract 2 again, I get 0, but 0 is too small, the loop won't run. So the loop ran a total of 2 times. My sum was 4 plus 2, and I ended up, after the loop is done, with a value of j equals 0. Now just to emphasize, suppose I change this to be greater than or equal to, oh, it's still running, sorry. Oh, yikes. Okay, let's close that. Or I could have reset. If that happens, you can use reset. Okay, so now I'm going to change this to greater than or equal to 0. And still keep j minus 2. And let's just give it a try. So decide what you think should happen. Okay. Let's run it. Put in my 4. Alright, now see what happened here. Again, I put it started with 4 and subtracting 2 each time, but now because my condition says greater than or equal to 0, the loop ran for 4, for 2, for 0, and then while in this running the loop with j equals 0, it subtracted 2 and made j equal minus 2. Well, the loop won't run when j equals minus 2 because the condition is greater than or equal to 0. So then we were finished. We ended up with j equal minus 2, and this sum was the sum of these 3 numbers, 4, 2, and 0. Now just to show you, suppose I started the sum at 10. Oops. Oh, sorry. Let's try reset. Suppose I started the sum at 10 instead of at 0. I'm not changing anything else. So what do you think will happen? Let's find out. We'll run this. Okay. Everything's the same except the sum, instead of 6, it's 16. Why? Because I was adding on to 10 each time. Okay. Now, instead, this loop counts down. It starts at a certain number and goes lower. I can also have a loop that counts up. So, instead of doing it this way, let's say we're going to go up to the limit and start j out at 0. So instead of greater than or equal, I'm going to want less than or equal, and instead of subtracting from j, I'm going to add to j. Okay, now all these changes are important. If I messed up and did one of these and not another one, I could easily get an infinite loop. So let's take a look here. I'm saying, oh, let me start sum at 0 also. So I'm going to start j at 0. So if I put 4 in, think about what values of j will be used, what's the final value, and what will the sum be. Let's try it. Okay, so I'm putting in the 4, and here you see, I started at 0, I set j equals 0 to start with, and then I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, each time adding 1. When j equals 4, I add 1 inside the loop, but the loop won't run again because the rule was j has to be less than or equal to the limit, which was 4. Okay, and we're getting our sum of 10. Now I can fiddle with this as well, and suppose instead of starting j at 0, I started at 2. Okay, let's try that. So back over here. I'll still use 4 as the limit. And now you see, I started at 2, added 1 each time, and stopped when the j got bigger than 4. Okay, so of course my sum is a little different there too. And now I could make all kinds of changes. I could go by 2's instead. And, you know, I don't have to use positive numbers really. So let's say I started J at -1, just for fun. Okay, think about what should happen. Let's try it. I'm going to put 4 in here. Okay, started at -1. Then I added 2, so -1 plus 2 is 1. Added 2 again, I got 3. Now the next time inside the loop with J equal 3, I add 2, I get 5. That's too big because my limit was 4, so the loop won't run. So I'm done. J ended up being 5, and the sum is the value of adding these 3 numbers, which comes out to 3 because the 1 and -1 cancel. Okay. You should play with this by yourself now. Make little changes like the ones I've been doing. See if you can predict what will happen. Then run the loop and see if you got the right answer. That will help you really understand how these loops work.